All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Virtual Sim Leagues. Today begins Season 9 for Tier 2. It's Round 1 here at Australia. The old season opener is now back for Formula 1 22. And sorry about the delays. We are having some problems with the YouTube channel, and that means I now have to stream it over on my channel instead. But that's just how it is sometimes. But we're in qualifying now, and we're seeing some drivers have already set some lap times. We have 13 and a half minutes to go, and already 6 drivers with laps on the board. And it looks like Fraser McKay has already DNF'd from the session, so they're not going to have a time for this session, and that will most likely mean they will be starting at the back of the grid. But we're going to try and ride on board with someone to get a full lap of this Australian circuit. And so far, the provisional pole time is from Davo in the Mercedes. It's a 1 minute 18.6, and that is a pretty decent time from him. And as you can see, his closest contender 2 tenths behind, but then the rest of the pack haven't even dipped into the 18s yet. But we're riding on board with Gareth, and he is about to start his first lap time of the session. So let's see how fast can he go on his first lap. You can see into turn 1 and 2. You can see he misses the apex there slightly at turn 1. You really want to be cutting over that curb. We now come into the new reprofiled turn 3, hitting that apex quite nicely, getting a decent exit and a decent run through turn 4, which now brings us to the flat out turn 5 and the new turn 6 and 7 high speed chicane. Want to be taking this in around 6th gear, carrying as much speed as possible while also getting a half decent exit. A tight line on this straight to the right and then to the left as it leads us to the turn 8 and 9 chicane. And you can see just about hitting that apex, not cutting that turn 9 too much there. Doesn't want to unsettle the car. But then we then come into the also brand new turn 10. You can see it's now a 90-degree corner with a big red sausage curb on the inside. Turn 11, 12, and then 13 to round off the circuit. 12 also a new sausage curb on the inside. You can see that's a bit of wheel spin there off for the exit of turn 12, but that is a full lap here around the Melbourne circuit, and that lap oh, sorry, I've just flicked off of him there. That lap actually puts him P3. I got very confused there. So it looks like Gareth is able to go P3, not quite getting into the 1 minute 18s, but it is a 1 minute 19.1, and I'm sure we'll be able to see him get into the 1 minute 18s later on in the session. And we currently have Lee the Reaper on an out lap and getting ready to start what will be his first lap time of the session. As you can see, a lot of drivers have already DNF'd. We have Acorn, Fraser McKay and N89 all out of the session, so it's not been a good opening qualifying for them, but they'll be hoping to bring it back in the race, as they'll most likely be starting from the back of the grid. But right now the provisional pole time an 18.6. That's a very fast time there from Davo, and the drivers are going to have to really push on if they want to try and beat that lap time, and we'll see if they can do just that, as it looks like Lee the Reaper has actually decided to come into pit lane even though he was only on his out lap, so that is definitely interesting to see. He still does not have a lap on the board. Looks like Speed Newgarden currently on an out lap along with Mike, who is also on an out lap. He's in the third sector and getting ready to start what will be his second lap of the session. Currently on a 1 minute 19.82, 1.2 seconds off of the provisional pole time, and that just shows you how fast Davo was able to go on his first lap of the session. We now ride on board with Mike, and let's see how fast he can go. And it's a long run down into the high speed turn 1-2 chicane, and he hits that apex very nicely, cutting it as much as you like, and getting away with the track limits. The new turn 3 then, I think they reprofiled it to make it a lot wider, a lot more flowing through there. Hitting that curb on the turn 4, that can really unsettle the car sometimes, and turn 5, and he manages to get away with it, so he's doing quite nicely for himself. Turn 6 and 7, you can see a little bit wide into turn 6, and then a nice and tight line. Actually drifts a little wide there for turn 8, and then this long, not a DRS straight actually, as there's many straights on this track, 3 DRS straights and that one. But we now come into turn 9 and 10. You can see really cutting that turn 10 aggressively, but he just missed that apex at turn 9. That's going to cost him a 10th or 2. And now into turn 11, and just kissing that apex there, as you really don't want to ride that curb too much. So getting a decent exit out of there. And now coming into the final turn, is he improving on his lap time? And where could this put him in the session? We'll have to see, because across the line is a 1 minute 19 flat, and he's very close to those 1 minute 18s, but not quite. So that puts him P3 in the session, and a decent lap time from him. Looks like Davo is 3/4 of a tenth up on his time, and doing quite nicely for himself in the session so far. But coming out of the middle sector, he's just 12 1/1000ths up on his time, and he's going to want to be improving a lot more, because he has Leo also on a lap time looking to improve and try and go for that pole position. You can see just hitting that apex there quite nicely, not touching the red sausage curb, and we now come into the final 2 turns. You can see just about hitting that apex, and then very tricky exit here out of the final turn 14, as very tricky with the traction, but he sets a faster lap. It looks like all the time was in the final sector. He improves by 1/10.5, and that puts him with a 1 minute 18.4. But can Leo now respond to this, as he comes out of the final turn, and he's just gotten on the power too early, and he's now crashed into the wall and is out of this qualifying session. So his pole position hopes are now out the window, and that 1 minute 18.7 will be his final lap of the session. Lee the Reaper DNFing from the session, and that means we are now up to 5 retirements in this session out of 16, and that is never what you want to see. So you can see the drivers are really struggling around this circuit. It looks like Kev in the Ferrari is currently on a lap time. He is coming through the middle sector and about to begin his final sector of his lap time. Currently half a second up. You can see very, very wide into there, and that really compromised his line for turn 10. We now come into the brand new turn 11, and you can see went a little bit wide there. Used second gear through there actually. We now come into turn 13 and 14 and getting ready to round off this lap time. We're going to have to see where this can put him. 127.7 so far in the session. I don't think that is an actual lap time from him. We'll have to see across the line now. 1 minute 20 flat puts him ahead of Urbini, but he's really going to want to improve by a little more than that. But you can see a spin out of turn 2 on a cooldown lap is not going to help him in any way, shape or form. We are now up to 6 retirements out of 16 in this session. You can see the new layout really catching out quite a few of the drivers. We still have 5 drivers without a lap time, 4 of which have DNF from the session, one of which is Speed Newgarden, and he is coming down into turn 3 and setting his first lap time of the session with just 5 minutes to go, so he's leaving it quite late for his banker time, but at least he'll get one in. It's always better late than never. So you can see now coming through turn 7 and now 8, and you can see taking a lot more flowing line through there to try in an effort to carry more speed through there as we come onto this straight, which brings us into the turn 9 and 10 chicane. And let's see if he hits these apexes. Goes wide there into turn 9. That compromises him heavily for turn 10, and he misses that turn 10 apex, which you really want to be cutting as much as possible. Into turn 11 now, just about tapping that apex, and we now come into the final 3 turns of this circuit, really getting up onto the curb there, and turn 13 and now 14, and let's see what kind of time is this going to be from Speed Newgarden. Hasn't looked like the tidiest lap, and that is going to show. It's a 119.7, which actually puts him P8 because of the amount of retirements in this session. So a decent qualifying position so far, but he's going to want to improve by quite a bit on that lap time. You can see Mike is now coming through the final turn and getting ready to start what will be one of his final lap times of the session. So it'll be interesting to see how fast he can go with the track evolution, getting quite close to its best through turn 1 and 2, not taking as much curb at turn 2 as he maybe would have liked to, and we now come into turn 4 there, but he gets up on the curb, and that is going to be a spin from him. Yeah, that was a spin from Mike there. That caused him to abandon his lap time. Thankfully, still in the session and not joining the other 6 retired drivers so far. Looks like we have a McLaren currently on their out lap. That's Ryan Berry, currently P7 with a 1 minute 19.6. He'll be looking to improve by 4/10 if he wants to move up position, and maybe more if he wants to be fighting with the top guys in this tier 2 division. But as you can see, Davo is still quite clearly leading the pack so far, 3/10 ahead of the retired Leo and 6/10 ahead of the Speed Y Racer. So doing very nicely for himself in this session so far. But Ryan Berry in the McLaren is now about to start what will be his final lap time of the session. And you can see now coming through the final turn 14, trying to get the best exit possible to begin his final lap. And let's see how fast can he go on this final lap. You can see we are now coming down into turn 1. He hits that apex quite nicely, doesn't use the full width of the track there at turn 2, and you can see a lot of drivers aren't really using the full width of the track there as well, so the car can get unsettled, but it is a lot quicker. You can see into turn 3 hitting that apex quite nicely, into turn 4 touching that curb, thankfully doesn't unsettle the car too much, and into this flat out turn 5. It brings us into the turn 6-7 chicane, hitting that turn 6 apex quite nicely. It doesn't use the full curb there at turn 7, and a nice and tight line into turn 8 now, as we're on the long straight into turn 9 and 10. And let's see how fast is he going to be able to take this, as you can see they're just about hitting the apex, and then cutting that quite nicely. He definitely could have done it more, but it will gain him a little bit of lap time there. We come into turn 11 now, and hitting that apex quite nicely. Once again, you can see quite a few of these drivers not really using the full width of the track, maybe just missing a little bit of confidence. You can see braking there quite early for that turn 13, but allows him to hit the apex quite nicely. Doesn't give him the best run into turn 14, but across the line it will be a 1 minute 19 flat. So that's the exact same time as Speed Y Racer, so it puts him P3. It looks like Davo was on a push lap and spins there. That's at the exit of turn 5 if I'm not mistaken, and that is going to cause him to abandon this lap time. So his final time of the session will be a 1 minute 18.4. You can see Speed Y Racer coming up to the end of his lap. You can see that's a lot of understeer coming into that turn 12. Could he possibly have wing damage? He will lose a lot of time from that. You can see I think he must have, because he is currently on a 1 minute 37. So that is the end of his session. M. Ryan is behind him though, and currently trying to finish his final lap time of the session. Let's see where will this put him. And across the line to 1 minute 19.2, doesn't improve by much, and he's going to maintain P7. Speed Gareth actually manages to get all the way up to P2, snuck by me there, and sets a 1 minute 18.5, 1/10 off of pole position, and with no one else currently on a lap time, and 8 out of 16, so that's half of the drivers DNFing from the session. That means Davo is going to be taking pole position for the season opener of season 9 here in VSL. So doing quite nicely for himself in the opening round, and just beating Speed Gareth by 1/10 of a second. But you can see he's quite clear from the rest of the grid, 3/10 ahead of Leo, and then 6 ahead of Ryan Berry and Speed Y Racers. That's a shame for Speed Y Racer there. You can see Ryan Berry just at the exact same time, but somehow, even setting the lap time after Speed Y Racer did, he manages to steal P4. So that's where he'll be starting on the grid. You can see going on the grass here as he tries to find his way back to the pit lane, and that is exactly what he does. So he's now going back into the pits, and that is going to end off this qualifying session. So it's Davo on pole position with Speed Gareth lining up alongside him. Leo will be in P3. Ryan Berry takes home P4. Speed Y Racer will be starting alongside Mike on the 3rd row of the grid, with M. Ryan and Speed Newgarden right behind them. Speed Quinn and Acorn will be starting on the 5th row. Kev Rusky, Urbini on the 7th, or on the 6th I should say. Fraser McKay, Lee the Reaper, George and N89 all failing to set lap times in this session. So they will be starting the last 4 positions, P13, 14, 15 and 16 in this session. So hopefully it will be an exciting race, and the strategy around this track will most likely, along with the rest of the tracks, be a medium hard, although we could see some hard soft strategies, and maybe even a soft medium if some of the drivers are willing to risk it. But we'll have to see, all in good time, as this qualifying session is now over, and we are getting ready to start the season opener here at VSL for season 9, round 1 in this tier 2 at Australia. and I'm hoping for an exciting race, and looking forward to commentate on all of the action. And that time from Davo there, a 1 minute 18.4. If I'm not mistaken, that's only about 2.1 seconds off of the world record. So definitely some decent pace there from Davo, as yeah, that is the fastest time in time trial. And obviously, he's going to lose a bit of time because it is in the qualifying and you only get 3 laps. And he sadly spun on his final lap, but was still able to secure that pole position. You can see the drivers are now beginning their formation laps as they warm up their tyres and brakes to begin this Australian Grand Prix. 29 laps in this 50% race. And let's have a look at some of the tyre choices for these drivers. So you can see almost every single driver, apart from P8, which is Speed Garden, deciding to start on the soft compound of tyres. So he's either going for a 2-stop or a soft medium, and we'll have to see what strategy everyone else goes for. You can see the Red Bull there of Speed Y Racer going for some aggressive tyre heating tactics and doing a bit of a Max Verstappen to really get those heat into the rears. But that does mean he'll be quite far behind where he is supposed to be. And as you can see, their drivers letting them through so he can get back into his original position. Although the Ferrari there of Kev Ruski not being so cooperative. But yeah, let's see. Davo will be starting this race on pole position. You can see he was going very fast there in qualifying. Had that 18.6 for the entire session, was on provisional pole for the entire session. And as you can see, their Speed Racer was actually disqualified for trying to get back into P5 after having that spin going down into turn 3. And that means his tyres will be quite cold on the race start, along with Acorn's tyres down in P10. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this race plays out, and especially with people like Speed Newgarden. He could be looking to go soft-tyred, maybe anticipating that early safety car. It'll be interesting to see if that pays off for him or not. But you can see Davo taking it nice and slowly, making his way to his grid slot. And obviously for this new game, I'm sure you've heard it a million times before, but you have to actually park your car in your grid slot. And if you get it wrong, you could be starting a few meters back to where maybe you would have wanted to have started. But let's see if these drivers can get it right, as we're not getting the best camera angle of Davo here, but you can see lining up into his grid slot, getting that done quite nicely. So the Speed guy, Leo, looks like Speed Quinn doesn't get it right. He'll be starting a few meters back. M. Ryan, Speed Newgarden and N89 all making mistakes, but we're not getting the best camera angle here. Davo hits 5 red lights. They're gone and we're away. What kind of start is it for our pole man? I'd love to see. So we're going to ride on board and hopefully get a better camera angle here. You can see it's a great start for Leo. He moves up into P2 with that outside line, and he is now on the back of Davo. It looks like Speed Gareth, who qualified P2, is already out of this session. And in the matter of just 2 turns, we have a safety car, and that is always what you love to see. Speed Newgarden on those soft compound tyres. He is now down all the way in last place, and let's see what kind of carnage happened down here. Speed Newgarden all the way in last. Lee the Reaper in P14. Let's have a quick look at the position changes. So George making up 6 positions on that opening lap. Acorn falling down 2 positions. Speed Newgarden to the very back of the grid, and everyone else making up at least 1 position apart from Lee the Reaper, who maintains P14 in this race. And after just 2 turns, Speed Gareth is out of this race. Disappointing to see, but that is lap 1, turn 1 for you. And let's actually see that here. It is a full course safety car, so we were expecting action on this race start. We got it, but it ended as quickly as it started, and we are now going to be behind the safety car for the next 2 laps. We'll have to see if anyone will come into the pit lane to possibly repair front wings, or maybe go for a bull strategy, try to go for hards until the end of the Grand Prix, although that might not be the best strategy, as chances are we will see another safety car in this race if lap 1 is anything to go off of. But you can see Davo here in P1 leading the race, doesn't decide to come into the pit lane. Does anyone else though? As you can see, no one so far coming into the pit lane. Actually, the Ferrari of Kev Rusky with absolutely no front wing decides to box, and so does Fraser McKay. So that is 2 people into the pit lane, most likely for front wing changes. It looks like Kev is going to go onto the softs. That is a very interesting strategy to see, to say the least, as he is now going to have to box again. Fraser McKay does the exact same. I'm not too sure what the long-term plan is here, because they are going to have to box again either for hards or mediums, and they will take them, well, most likely hards now, because they've already used their medium set of tires. So they're on softs until they have to go hards to the end of the race. But you can see here no real position changes, apart from obviously a lot of people moving up 1 position after Speed Gareth DNFing from the session. So Leo up a position. Ryan Berry, Speed Y Racer, Mike Urbini actually moves up, Urbini I should say, moves up from P12 to P7. George moves up from P15 to P9. Acorn maintains P10. N89 moves from P16 to P11. Lee the Reaper moves from P14 to P12. Speed Newgarden falling from P8 to P13. Kev Rusky falling from P11 to P14. And Fraser McKay falling from P13 to P15. And obviously Speed Gareth out of this session. So safety car should hopefully be coming in this lap, although I don't think it is. I think it will be staying out just 1 more lap, so we're going to have to wait for the safety car for yet another lap, and then we will continue racing on lap 4. And let's see, will Leo be able to challenge Davo for this race win? It'll be interesting to see whether he can or not. That actually looks like a mistake there from one of the drivers. Speed Y Racer, as he did on the formation lap, spins again, this time under safety car conditions. He now falls all the way down to P10, and that is a silly mistake. That is really going to cost him in this race. He was in P4 if I'm not mistaken, doing very nicely for himself. And now, after just being too aggressive with the tyre heating, he is all the way down in P10. So he is going to have to make up quite a few positions in this Grand Prix if he wants to get back to where he was originally. Started P5, made his way to P4, and is now back down all the way to P10. This now means George, the man who's made the most gains in this race so far, has made yet another, and he's gone from P15 to P8 in just 3 laps time. So that's been quite nice for himself so far in this race. Safety car is now in this lap. and Davo will be leading us away for the safety car restart on lap 4, and he'll be looking for a good getaway to try and possibly break away from Leo, and in the hopes to possibly break DRS, which will be enabled on lap 6 if I'm not mistaken. So as you can see here, Davo going nice and slowly, allowing the safety car to go back into the pit lane before getting ready for the safety car restart. You can see a lot of drivers getting quite feisty in the background, some going side by side with each other, which in real life has been banned, but obviously here in VSL it is allowed, so you can see a lot of chaos going on in the background. Davo picks his time to go, and the time is now, and as you can see there, it's not the best up against Leo, but Ryan Berry decides to come into the pit lane. That is a mistake there from Urbini, who falls all the way down to P14. Ryan Berry is now into the pit lane, and off of the restart we do have a yellow flag. I'm not too sure what that's for, but Davo has already broken the DRS to Leo behind him. Speed Newgarden gets a 5-second time penalty for ignoring a yellow flag. George is looking to the inside, absolutely sends it at turn 3 on Speed Quim. That's obviously not going to work out for him, and he'll be lucky not to have wing damage after that, although it looks like he doesn't. So thankfully getting away with that. Lee the Reaper very close to the back of N89 and looking to move up into P9. That's a position change. That's Fraser McKay there at the exit of turn 6, if I'm not mistaken, turn 6, turn 7, and sends it into the wall. He is now out of the session, and that is going to be the second retirement in just 4 laps. Ryan Berry all the way at the back of the grid now on those hard tyres. Decided to box it very late on there. Maybe not the best decision. Acorn looking to the outside at turn 11 and given absolutely no room from George. So obviously has some dodgy attacking and defensive tactics. You can see there, that's a Williams in the background, the Lee Reaper spinning on the exit of turn 12. His car is into the wall, and he will definitely have wing damage. That's on his left front wing end plate there. He's going to have to get into the pit lane to get that repaired, and so does Urbini, who needs to repair his front wing. But you can see now Davo starting to pull away a little bit more from Leo. The gap is now 1.5 seconds. Mike falling away from Leo as well. Acorn on the back of George. He actually got overtaken in... no, he didn't. He's still on the back of him and was looking for a move into turn 3. You can see that's wide there from George. Acorn trying to find a way around the outside. Looks at the switchback instead. That doesn't work out for him though, although he does get a better run with the power of ERS, looking to make the move on George, and it looks like he's going to be able to get that move done. It also looks like the Red Bull of Speedway Racer looking to get past around the outside at turn 9, and you can see there George completely cutting the corner there and lucky not to lose the car. We now see Speedway Racer looking for the move on Acorn, but I don't think he's going to be able to make that stick around the outside. The Ferrari actually hits into George, if I'm not mistaken, and he absolutely sends it on the Red Bull of Speedway Racer, moving himself up into P8, but that doesn't last for long because he gets wheel spin off of the exit of P12. The Red Bull shoves him wide, and it looks like N89 is going to try and take that opportunity to move himself up into P8. Doesn't work out for him though. Speedway Racer takes P7. N89 is now looking for the move on George, and so is the Red Bull of Speed Newgarden, who sends it into turn 1, leaves absolutely no room. N89 loses the car into turn 1 and 2, and he also loses the front wing with that. So he is now going to have to come into the pit lane, because with the new patch the wing damage is a lot more severe, and George is really not afraid to get the elbows out, even if it's a little unfair at times. That's a yellow flag in the first sector. That's because Kev Rusky has spun at turn 1, and that is going to lose him more time on top of the time he has already lost. Davo looking at maintaining that 1.3, 1.2 second lead that he has over Leo, and Ryan not able to keep up with these guys. He's got pressure from Mike behind him, and if I'm not mistaken, he actually moved past Mike there and overtook him for P3 in this race. That's another yellow flag in the first sector. That's because Kev Rusky has spun twice in a single sector. Not the best for his race efforts. Speedway Racer now on the back of Acorn 95. And he is going to be looking for a way past. You can see they're getting on the power a bit too early. Was able to save that spin though, so he's still in this race with no wing damage. And he'll have lost a bit of time to Acorn ahead. He'll be looking to gain it back with the power of DRS, which he does have for this straight. And that is going to gain him a tenth or two. As you can see, George actually retires from the session there. And in the space of just 7 laps, we now have our second safety car of the race. So Davo maintaining his lead with Leo right behind him. M. Wright moving up into P3 with Mike right behind him. Speed Quinn in P5, Acorn in P6, Speed Y Racer and his teammate Speed Newgarden in P7 and 8. Ryan Berry is down in P9, but he is on those hard tires, which you will hopefully be able to make take to the end of the race. But boxing at the end of the safety car wasn't the best decision, and he's now going to lose a lot of time to the medium runners, who are most likely going to come into the pit lane for a fresh set of hards. It's actually helped out Speed Newgarden, who gets to come in for the hards as well. So don't be surprised if all of the top 8 come in for a fresh set of hard compound tires. And George is the third retirement of the race so far, and that means we just have 13 drivers left in this session. And the safety car being out, let's see who decides to come into the pit lane. And it looks like a lot of drivers have opted against it, which is interesting to see. You can see Speed Quinn and Speed Newgarden taking this opportunity, along with Speed Y Racer, all taking this opportunity to go onto the hard compound tires, which they will be able to take to the end. But a shock decision there from the top 5, opting to stay out on the mediums, which should only last for about 4 more laps, including 2 more laps which will be under safety car. So realistically, they're only going to get about 2 more laps of racing on this tire. So you can see some questionable strategies there from the top 5. But this gives people like Speed Quinn, Speed Y Racer a big opportunity in this race to make a difference and maybe battle it out for that race win, as that's what looks like maybe happening. But yeah, it looks like the 2 Ferraris not having the best of races down in P12 and 13, thankfully still in the session, but outside of the points crucially. We have Lee the Reaper in P11 in his Williams. You can see quite a few penalties for P11, 10 and 9, and we can see now how many seconds they've got. Speed Newgarden with 5 seconds of time penalties, Urbani with 8 seconds, Lee the Reaper with 3 seconds to his name, and they're all of those penalties are going to cost those drivers in this race, as it's going to drop them back quite a few positions. Urbani is currently in the edge of the points, but with his 8 seconds he will fall behind Lee the Reaper, and possibly N89 and Kev Rusky wants to catch up to the safety car. And we have Ryan Berry in P8 on 4-lap old hards, but he doesn't have to stop again. His hards will be a little more worn compared to Speed Y Racer or Speed Quinn, but based on his pace in qualifying, he should hopefully be able to keep up with those guys, although 4 laps will make quite a difference. We have Speed Y Racer in P7 and Speed Quinn. Both have 0 stops left to make. Acorn in P5, Mike in P4, M. Ryan in P3, Leo in P2, and Davo P1. But they are all on medium compound tires, which means that they have to make another stop in this race, which will not help them at all compared to everyone who is already on the hard compound tires, which crucially means they don't have to make a stop compared to the medium tires. You can see the safety car is now coming in this lap, which means for the second time this race, Davo will be leading us away for the safety car restart. And let's see if he can get a good getaway as he did last time. He's once again got Leo on the back of him, but this time in P3, it is the Alpine driver of M. Ryan. And let's see when he picks his point to go for the getaway, and it looks like he picks it in the exact same spot, and still getting a half-decent getaway compared to Leo, making the gap 6/10. Looks like Mike has already spun before the green flags are even shown, and we could be looking at a 3-wide moment here into turn 1, but it doesn't look like it. Speed Quinn getting ahead of Speed, or staying ahead of Speed Y Racer. Ryan Berry looking to get past, going through turn 2. They're still, no, they're no longer side by side. Ryan Berry moves up into P6, and Urbani diving down the inside of Speed Newgarden. It looks like Leo and M. Ryan going side by side, and with Mike falling all the way down to last after spinning before getting across the line to start lap 10. That now means Acorn is in P4, and it is an Alpine 3-4. Let's see if they can make any more progress. Leo has himself a 3-second time penalty, which is going to cost them quite heavily in this race. So currently it's a double Alpine podium, and they're doing quite nicely for themselves in this race, keeping it nice and consistent. But the medium runners are going to have to come in soon enough and make another stop, which will lose them 20 seconds compared to the drivers behind them. And that means Speed Quinn, Ryan Berry and everyone else on the hard tyres will be at a massive advantage, and let's see if it pays off for them. You can see Speed Quinn is actually able to keep up with the medium runners as well, which also shows that the hards are actually faster than the mediums, hurting the medium runners even more. So the medium runners are not looking good in this race, but if there's another safety car, maybe they can bring it back, although they will lose track position to all the hard runners. Speed Y Racer getting past Ryan Berry, and that's because it's a mistake out of turn 2. His front wing is still intact, but he's now under attack from Speed Newgarden into turn 3. Manages to maintain P8, but he has lost quite a bit of time because of that. That is Urbani going wide there at turn 4, and he got a 3-second time penalty because of it. That now brings him up to 11 seconds of time penalties, if I'm not mistaken. Acorn on the back of his teammate, who has actually lost DRS to Leo ahead of him. So you can see M. Ryan has struggled to keep up with the top 2 for most of this race, and that trend continues even now. On lap 11, Speed Newgarden being overtaken there by Lee the Reaper, if I'm not mistaken, as I think there was a position change there. Acorn still on the back of his teammate, and I think this is the battle that we want to be watching. As you can see, Acorn has about 70% ERS. That is a spin there in the background for Lee the Reaper. He falls all the way down to P13, and I think that's after making contact with Speed Newgarden, who also falls down to P11. So must have been contact there at somewhere around turn 11 in the final sector. That causes Speed Newgarden to come into pit lane, which I can only assume is for a new front wing. Acorn goes wide there at turn 2. That allows Speed Quinn to get around the outside and move himself up into P4 in this race. So the Mercedes in P4 and 1, and also doing quite nicely for themselves. Looks like Alpine and Mercedes having a good day, but maybe not Alpine. You can see Urbini just about getting past that as Acorn DNFs from the session, and that's after a spin out of the exit of turn 5. That's the 4th retirement of the session, and we get the warm, familiar side of the safety car once again, which means medium runners can now come into pit lane for their fresh hard compound tyres. See, the Reaper manages to get himself a drive-through penalty, and that puts him out of contention in this race, unless there is yet another safety car, and at this point I think we can expect it. And projected six safety cars this race, as we've already had 3 in 12 laps, so I'm sure these drivers can get it up to that 6 safety cars. So Davo, Leo and M. Ryan are now all going to come into the pit lane, And you can see there, Davo actually almost cutting the white line there. Ryan opts to stay out, and he will get about 2 more laps of racing on those mediums unless he is going for the medium soft strategy. And with all of these safety cars, to be fair, it could be a good shout, because if he gets around another 2 safety cars and decides to go on softs until the end, he could be looking at a race win here. Speed Quinn takes P2 with Speed Y Racer in P3. Davo falls down to P7 in this race with Leo in P8. Ryan Berry opts to the box for his old mediums, which he now has to take to the end of the race, which is definitely an interesting strategy from him. Those will be 19 laps at the end of the race, unless he decides to box again under another safety car. Mike, this is good for him. After that spin on the safety car restart, he moved himself back in P10. You can see flicking the rear end there to heat up the rears of his cold, hard compound tyres. The Reaper up to the softs, which means he has to box again in this race, which he can do at the next safety car. We now have 4 retirements in this race, which means just 12 drivers to go. And let's see how many drivers actually survive it until the end of the race, because a lot of drivers so far have been making quite a few mistakes. But hopefully these last 12 are the consistent drivers that can keep it on the track for the next 16 laps. We are now waiting for Lee the Reaper and Speed Newgarden to catch up to the safety car queue. And once they do, the safety car will come in, and it will most likely come in on the very next lap once those 2 drivers have actually caught up to the safety car queue. Speed Speed Newgarden actually has caught up to the safety car already, but Lee the Reaper going for a little spin there under safety car conditions and pulling a bit of a Romain Grosjean at Baku, and that is going to cost him a little bit of time and take him a little bit longer to try and catch up to the safety car. Currently down in P10 with a drive-through penalty, which he will have to take after the safety car, and that will really put him on the back foot in this race. So yeah, he's going to push on for now with his soft compound tires, although I expect him to make another stop in this race, because chances are the softs cannot go 16 laps in this Grand Prix. So as you can see here, decides to come into pit lane because I can only assume that he thinks you can serve a drive-through penalty under safety car, which you cannot. So that means he will be losing another couple of seconds as he puts on another set of tyres and actually decides to retire from the session. Although another safety car could have brought him back in this race, so maybe not the best choice there for Lee the Reaper. That is now the 5th retirement in this race. We have 11 drivers to go, and looks like Ryan is now leading this race on 13 lap old mediums, and if he was going off of the game strategy, he would be boxing this lap, but I can only assume he's going for a medium soft strategy. We'll have to see if that works out for him or not. But the safety car is, or at least should be, coming in this lap. You can see this might have been a mistake there in the background involving Leo, as the grid was held up a little bit there, but the safety car doesn't decide to come in this lap, which means it will be coming in on the very next. Actually, no, it does. It's a bit of a late call there on the exit of turn 11, but it does decide to come in this lap. So Ryan will be looking for a good getaway on this safety car restart. You can see getting that last bit of heat into those medium compound tires, and let's see what he can do from the top of the field here in his Alpine. And when does he decide to go for the safety car restart? You can see going a bit wide into turn 13, which gives him a good exit and a good run into turn 14, and he gets a great jump on Speed Quinn, who does not expect it whatsoever, and has now lost 1.5 seconds and is under pressure from Speed Y Racer, who looks to the inside line for turn 1 and 2, but he's a bit too far back to absolutely send it from there. So he's going to maintain P3 for now. Urbani in P4, but has 11 seconds of time penalty, so basically at the back of the grid. Davo looking to make up positions as he manages to go around the outside of N89 at turn 3, and he's now put a car between himself and Leo, who does still have that 3-second time penalty. But yeah, you can see now Urbani quite close to the back of Speedway Racer. M. Ryan has already built up that gap that won't last for long, because I can only assume that the mediums are slower than the hards at this stage. Urbani really close to the back of Speedway Racer, who might be struggling for pace at this stage of the race, and wasn't able to make a move into there. Actually had to brake early to avoid hitting into the back of him. Leo gets himself another 6-second time penalty, and someone who was looking to contend for the race win has somewhat thrown it away with the amount of inconsistent track limit penalties that he's actually gotten there. So his race win hopes are now out of the window. But the race rages on. M. Ryan still not coming into pit lane, so you can only assume he is going for that medium soft strategy. As you can see, Leo quite close to the back of N89. Could he be looking for a move? Not just yet is the answer. So coming into this turn, he's going to be stuck behind the back of N89 for yet another lap. And that is going to cost him quite a bit of time. To Davo, he looks to the inside, but not going to commit to that move just yet. Breaks early to get himself a nice exit to try and stay with N89 and get as close as possible for an overtake as soon as possible. Urbani in P4 on the back of Speedboy Racer. He actually has older hard compound tyres, but it looks like his pace is actually better, and he'll be looking for a move soon enough here. And let's see if he can do just that. He has a look to the inside, but then goes back to the racing line, because never a wise move to go side by side into the turn 9-10 chicane. N89 is very close to the back of Leo, and so is Ryan Berry. That's because Leo has just overtaken N89. Urbini sends it down the inside into turn 11, and he's able to get himself up into B3, but that doesn't mean much because of his penalties. And then actually gets a bad exit, which causes contact between the Red Bull and the AlphaTauri. Speedway Racer with the inside line doesn't get the better traction, which means he's going to have to settle for P4 on track 4 now. And he's now going to be under a little bit of pressure from the Ferrari of Kev Rusky. If I'm not mistaken, actually started from the back of the grid. And no, he started from P11 and making some good progress in this race. Speedway Racer looking to the inside line for turn 3 and leaving each other enough room there on the inside and the outside lines. And looks like Speed Quinn has now actually caught up to M. Ryan. But once again, we see a driver spin on the exit of turn 5. Could this result in another safety car? No, it doesn't look like it will. Looks like Speedway Racer was able to get back on track in time, but his race win hopes are now out of the window. Feels like I've said that quite a few times this race already, but he's now at the back of the grid with a completely damaged front wing, as you can see there. So he is going to have to come into the pit lane to repair that, and will be dead last by around 40 seconds. So he won't be looking to catch up to the rest of the grid anytime soon. That promotes Kev Rusky to the podium, in fact, because of Urbini's penalties. M. Ryan now really starting to struggle on his medium compound tires. Looks like Kev Rusky actually makes the move on Urbini there. I'm not sure, must have been a mistake there from Urbini, and he's now lost 2 positions because of it. The McLaren looking opportunistic, trying to find the move on the Aston Martin. Meanwhile, Urbini and Davo go side by side. You can see Ryan Berry completely sends it into turn 1, leaves no space. Leo most likely has wing damage because of that, and that now means Ryan Berry is under pressure into turn 3, and that is some interesting racing, to say the least. Mike completely smashing into the back of Leo, and losing Leo quite a bit of time and a position to Ryan Berry. Wouldn't be surprised if Mike, Ryan Berry, Leo and Urbini all have wing damage, but we'll have to see once they come to the pit lane if they decide to box. Urbini looking to the outside line at turn 9 and 10, and that is really not going to work. And as you can see there, Davo goes very deep into there, leaves Urbini no room. Thankfully, Urbini is alive after that one and continuing on in this race. You can see Speed Quinn and Brian now battling it out for the race win, but they are both on different strategies, as Ryan still has to go into the pit lane. He doesn't decide to do it just yet though. He'll be looking to box around lap 22 for the soft compound tyres, which will then take him to the end of the Grand Prix. So, yeah, let's see here. And it actually, Lee the Reaper coming in there saying he had rear wing damage, and that's why he actually decided to retire in the pit lane. And that is why the 5th retirement of the race took place. Mike came into the pit lane there, and that is for a front wing change after making all of that contact there on the previous lap. Kev Rusky battling it out with Davo, who moves into P3. He's now under pressure from Urbini going wide at turn 4. Urbini completely sends it into the grass, lucky to keep it out of the wall. He's now in P5 with Kev Rusky maintaining P4. He does have his time penalty though. Davo looking to push on, currently a net Mercedes P1 and 2. There's a lot of chaos going on here in the background. Leo on the back of Ryan Berry, and Ryan Berry looks to the outside. That's not going to work out for him, or maybe it is, as he has the inside line for turn 10. Kev Rusky looks for the switchback. He leaves the space for Urbini. He doesn't have the DRS for the run down to turn 11 though. He has the outside line, and can he make this move stick? You can see Urbini gets up on that sausage group, completely understeers into the side of Kev Rusky, and he has now completely lost his front wing, and it's now the VSC. So we get some variety in our safety cars. 4 safety cars this race, 3 safety cars and 1 VSC so far in this race. Who decides to come into pit lane? Kev Rusky does. Leo gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC, and that takes him completely out of contention. The man who's looking to win this race is now out of contention for any sort of points, unless another driver DNFs and all drivers score points, because then that way there would only be 10 drivers left in the race. You can see N89 also deciding to come into the pit lane, so both Ferraris boxing. Is N89 coming in for a new front wing? We'll have to see, and yes is the answer. So 3 drivers there boxing for new front wings. N89 goes onto the soft compound tyres, and those should hopefully take him to the end of the race, although it might be a bit of a stretch unless there is another virtual or full course safety car. He now drops down all the way to P11 with Mike taking P10 off of him. So it looks like the battle between Speed Quinn and Ryan isn't going to last for much longer. Urbini manages to get himself a track limits warning under the VSC. Interesting to see, to say the least. But Ryan now trying to get a good virtual safety car restart. But will he be looking to come into the pit lane for the fresh soft compound tyres? We'll have to see. As you can see, no, he opts to stay out yet another lap, so really stretching this medium compound stint, and that means he's going to be under quite a bit of pressure from the Mercedes behind of Speed Quinn. Ryan Berry on the back of Leo, who has that drive-through penalty, which he will have to serve soon enough. And as you can see, we're going to take a quick look at the penalties there. You can see 17 seconds for Urbini, which is interesting to see that he's gotten 4 3-second time penalties, which means he's gotten over 12 track limits warning, and also 5 seconds that could be for contacting the safety car or speeding in the pit lane. Leo has himself that drive-through penalty. Speed Newgarden in a decent position with only with no time penalties, and currently on the podium in this race. So well, actually no, he's only P4 in this race, but if he can get within 3 seconds of Davo, he will be P3 in this race. Speed Quinn still on the back of Ryan, and trying to find a way past, but are really struggling to make that move. And as you can see now, the grid is now, the field is very spread out now. You can see the only 2 drivers in DRS are Speed Newgarden in Ryan Berry's, and well, not anymore, because Ryan decides to come into the pit lane for the soft compound of tyres, which he will be taking to the end of the race. He's going to have to push nice and hard on these tyres to gain any sort of time. Leo sets the fastest lap of the race, which he steals off of Davo, who set it just before him. And let's see if Ryan can start setting some fast laps. He now has to gain around 25 seconds in just 7 laps. N89 retires from the session, and for the 4th time this race, 5th if you include virtual safety cars, we have a safety car. and this is going to be interesting to see strategy-wise. And 4 safety cars, that's about 3 laps per one. So far in this race, we have gotten about 9 laps of uninterrupted racing. We've had 6 retirements so far, which means any driver who manages to finish the race will finish in the points. So as long as they don't send it into the wall like the other 6, they will be able to score some championship points for themselves. But this safety car could change up some strategies, maybe bring some new people into the race win. But we'll have to see what will everyone do with this new opportunity. What does Speed Quinn do? Speed Quinn decides to come into pit lane. Is Davo now going to try and double stack? Yes, he is. Leo coming into pit lane. Ryan Berry, Speed, Newgarden, all coming into pit lane. This has really hurt M. Ryan, who has just boxed for the soft compound tyres, and he now loses all of the advantage that he has. And they are now on a level playing field. Everyone on the soft compound of tyre. And you can see there, M. Ryan might be able to jump a car or two, but he has lost the lead of the race. And if he had waited just one more lap, he would have been able to go to softs from the safety car. He's in P2, and he has a clear run at Speed Quinn. Those 2 drivers will be battling it out for the race win, but Speed Newgarden hoping to get into the battle. But M. Ryan and Speed Quinn, the only 2 drivers without time penalties, which means they have the best chance at this race win. But Speed Newgarden also has no penalties, but he's quite a bit behind these drivers. So he's got 3 cars between himself and the top 2, so he'll have to make quite a few overtakes. And I'm sure all 3 of those drivers will be stubborn, making sure that Speed Newgarden won't be able to find a way past. If we look at the penalties again, Leo still hasn't served his drive-through penalty, which means Speed Newgarden is actually on the podium at this stage of the race. So yeah, he actually is doing quite nicely for himself. So we have 1 Mercedes, 1 Alpine, and 1 Red Bull all on the podium. It looks like let's see here. It looks like Red Bull and Mercedes and AlphaTauri are the only 3 teams with 2 drivers still racing in this Grand Prix, and that accounts for 6 of the drivers. You can see Urbani was able to actually serve 5 seconds of his time penalties in the pit lane, so he's now down to just 6 seconds, or 12 seconds I should say, of time penalties. So he will be finishing somewhere towards the back of the grid, maybe just ahead of Leo because of that, and that was still getting him 2 points in this race because of his 6 retirements that we have had so far. It looks like Kev Rusky is actually on the medium compound of tyre. Brian decides to come into the pit lane along with Leo. I personally cannot give an explanation for that. They are going to lose all of their track position for absolutely nothing as well, because they were on fresh soft compound tyres. Ryan decides to go for a fresh set of softs and a new front wing actually. So they both made contact under safety car, lost their front wings, and that means they have to come into pit lane, which means they've also lost all of their track position. So Leo also has a drive-through penalty. So yeah, making contact under the safety car, losing their front wings, and now falling all the way to the back of the grid, with Leo still a drive-through penalty to serve. Speed Quinn looking to win this race, absolutely uncontested, with the only challenger still in this race being Speed Newgarden, who has to overtake Ryan Berry and Davo if he wants to get into that battle for the race win. But we'll have to see if he can do just that, as we're now waiting. As you can see, actually, Leo and M. Ryan have both caught up to the safety car, and that means racing should resume on the very next lap. But we are now on lap 24 of 29, which means we sadly, I'm sure a lot of the drivers will be disappointed, we cannot get another safety car no matter how hard they bin it, and this will be the final one. So safety car is in this lap for the final time in this race, which means we will have 5 laps of uninterrupted racing. Can put on a bit of a spectacle. Speed Quinn is leading us for this safety car restart. and I think this is the first time too. So let's see what kind of restart they can get, as it will be their first time this race leading a safety car pack. So let's see, when will they pick their time to go? Are they going to go late? Are they going to go early? What is the best way to catch out the driver behind Ryan Berry? We'll have to see. As you can see, coming into turn 13 now, and waiting and waiting. We're coming into turn 14. He has to pick his time soon. And when will it be? It looks like it's now. And he's gotten a decent jump on Ryan Berry, which also gives his teammate Davo a decent opportunity to look for a move into turn 1. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's actually completely sends it. He sends it so hard that he actually goes off of the track. Ryan Berry thankfully predicts it and manages to keep his distance. Leo disqualified from the session. Not too sure what that's for. You can see a lot of chaos there going on in the background. Speed Newgarden has fallen all the way down to P6, which means he has no chance at a race win now. We have 9 drivers left in this race, so even Speed Y Racer, who has just spun, will be getting 2 points in this race. That's quite handy for himself. Dave on the back of his teammate, but with the amount of penalties that the top 5 have, Speed Quinn will most likely be winning this race. The only other points he could really get is for the fast lap, and let's see if he does that. Urbini retires from the session when there was only 9 drivers, and he could have gotten some very good points. And to my surprise, I have been proven wrong. This lobby has delivered. I thought that the safety car couldn't actually come out again because there was such little laps left, but this tier finds a way. We now have the 5th safety car, 6th including the virtual safety car of this race. I think we're up to about 10 laps of racing, uninterrupted racing. So it's not been much, but it's all been high quality. Speed Quinn in the leaders race. I don't really expect anyone to box. It's actually a full horse safety car, not the virtual safety car. This will take us to about lap 27 or 28, which will give us 3 or 2 laps of racing. So, whatever these drivers need to do, they need to do it now. Mike manages to spin it on the entry of turn 3, retiring under the safety car conditions. Manages to actually bring down the Red Bull with him. No, the Red Bull continues on. M. Ryan and Speed Y Racer came into the pit lane there for some fresh soft compound tires. And what I can only assume is a new front wing. We have 7 drivers in this race, 3 of which don't have any time penalties, and Speed Newgarden and M. Ryan would have to overtake the 3 cars ahead of them if they wanted to contest for that win, which they would have to do in about 2 or 3 laps of racing if it's not interrupted. But I think this time I am confident that the safety car cannot come out again, although this tier there's always a chance that it will. We could even finish under the safety car, even though it's not programmed into the game, but we'll have to see how it all works out. So, Speed Quinn leading this race. He's been doing quite decently for himself most of this race. I was really expecting Davo to win this race after such a great qualifying pace, but Speed Quinn started P9, kept it consistent, has had good pace throughout, hasn't got himself any time penalties, and he's done a good job this race, and he's in P1, and he's looking to win the race. Davo got himself those time penalties, had some interesting strategy calls, although I think almost everyone has had some interesting strategy calls at some point in this race because of the amount of safety cars. But he is now sitting on 3 seconds of time penalties. So is Ryan Berry, Kev Rusky on 6, and Speed Y Racer on 3. So we actually see not too many drivers with time penalties anymore, and that would be due to the fact that we only have 7 drivers. So it looks a lot smaller. But we have over 50% of the drivers actually getting those time penalties. But Kev Rusky, the only man on the mediums, he's going to be losing quite a bit of time to the drivers ahead and behind. So that's not going to help him whatsoever in this race. And he will be looking at finishing last in this race because he has the most. He has 6 seconds of time penalties compared to Dave O'Brien Berry's and Speed Y Race's 3 seconds. So unless any driver makes a very big mistake, which is definitely possible, He will most likely be finishing P7 and scoring a whopping 6 points in this race just for keeping it out of the wall. So there you go. The safety car will be coming in this lap. So let's see what these drivers can do. These 7 drivers, will they be able to put on the show for the final 2 laps of this Grand Prix, as the safety car will be coming in just before the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix, and Speed Quinn will be looking to get a decent restart like he did last time. It wasn't the best restart from him last time. He was under a little bit of pressure from his teammate and Ryan Berry, but since his teammate Davo sent it so hard on Ryan Berry, it actually lost him heaps of time, which allowed Speed Quinn to run away until there was another safety car which can bring them all back together. They've been spending probably most of this race heating up their tyres rather than going side by side. Davo manages to get himself a 5-second time penalty for ignoring yellow flags. That is a safety car glitch, to be fair to him. Hopefully he can get that removed post-race. But let's see now. It looks like Speed Quinn really wants to get this race done, as getting nice and close to the safety car. Safety car is now into the pit lane, so he should be able to restart now, and that's exactly what he does. It's a bit predictable though, which allows Davo to get a decent run on him coming into turn 1. And let's see, will he look to the inside? No, he's deciding to play the team game, so he's just going to stick it behind his teammate, and his teammate Speed Quinn should be able to hold it for the final 2 laps. You can see Davo is actually going for the move now around the outside into turn 3, and is he going to try to hold it on the inside for turn 4? No, he brakes a bit early, so yeah, he is just trying to keep Ryan Berry behind and allow his teammates to secure the win. He knows that he has more penalties, and that his teammate is in the better position. It could be, no, it won't be a Mercedes 1-2 because of the penalties that Davo has. And Ryan on the back of Speed Newgarden in a bit of a Red Bull sandwich, but using plenty of his ERS to try and keep up with Speed Newgarden ahead. Speed Y Racer already using plenty of his ERS on the safety car restart, which is a good idea since there's only 2 laps left, as it looked like Ryan went a bit wide into there, which compromised him. It looks like Davo is now looking to the outside at turn 11, and he really squeezes Speed Quinn to the inside. No, this is Speed Quinn really squeezing Davo to the inside, got him up on the red sausage curb and into turn 13 now. He has the outside line, but it looks like Davo will be getting the better of him. Davo moves himself up into P1 in this race. Ryan Berry on the back of these 2, and using plenty of his ERS to try and look for a move, but into turn 1 it doesn't look like anyone will be looking for a move down the inside or around the outside. But off of the run of turn 2 and into turn 3, Ryan Berry looks to the outside, and he absolutely sends it braking as late as possible, but wasn't able to get the car turned in. Meanwhile, Ryan also looking for a move on Speed Newgarden, but he's a bit stuck at this stage of the race, looking to finish P3 in this race as it stands. Ryan Berry very close to the back of Speed Quinn. Goes very wide there, actually goes onto the grass and the gravel. That is going to lose him a bit of time to Kev Rusky behind on the 10 lap all mediums. That's going to put him under pressure, and Ryan falls down to P7 in this race. Kev Rusky on the back of Ryan Berry. Both drivers having their red lights flashing, which means they're under 10% ERS. Speed Quinn 1.3 seconds off the back of Davo. And maybe Speed Quinn is actually trying to hold up these drivers to allow Davo to possibly extend a gap to these guys behind. Maybe that is the strategy from the Mercedes team. Speed Newgarden sending it up the inside into turn 12, makes the move stick. Speed Y Racer looked for a switchback and instead clattered into the back of his teammate. Only Mercedes and Red Bull having 2 drivers left in this race, and that was actually the final lap. So Speed Quinn is going to come across the line to win the season opener. One of 7 drivers to finish the Grand Prix. If I'm not mistaken, Speed Newgarden finishing P2 in this race. He gets driver of the day, as he started a bit further back. But we can now look at the podium. Here is your winner for today, Speed Quinn, coming out on top for his Mercedes team, and he's going to celebrate that. And looks like 3 of the same drivers there on the podium. But yeah, it was Speed Quinn who came home with P1. It's Speed Newgarden one of the three drivers not to get a penalty that actually finished that race, and then the Alpine driver of Ryan finishing third on the podium. So the three drivers that didn't get penalties were the ones that finished on the podium because of the amount of time penalties up and down the field. But you can see there is your finishing positions for the drivers. Speed Newgarden moving from P8 to P2. Speed Quinn getting from P9 to P1, while M. Ryan moved from P7 to P3. Ryan Berry manages to finish P4 with Speed Y Racer in P5. Davo's penalty could possibly get removed. He might be able to finish what would be P2 in this race, if I'm not mistaken. If he got 5 seconds removed from his race time, he would actually finish P2 in this race. But maybe the penalty was deserved. I'm not too sure. But that is going to be the end of round 1 of VSL's Tier 2. And not plenty of safety cars for that race. And Davo manages to get the fast lap of a 20.6. And he also got the pole lap, so he's got some great one-lap pace. Sadly, wasn't able to put it together in the race. But yeah, that is going to be it for round 1 of VSL's Tier 2 in this brand new Season 9 here at Australia. I hope all of you enjoyed. Sorry for the YouTube difficulties and the technical difficulties that I had to stream on my channel rather than the VSL channel. But that's just how it works out sometimes. I hope to see you all next week, and goodbye.